All right, good evening and welcome to the work session for the Village Board for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, June 17. We just finished an executive session regarding contractual and legal matters and are now moved into our public work session. First item up is discussion with the folks from Sustainable Westchester about Community Choice Aggregation. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
Get your presentation up here.
Okay, great. Thank
you.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees, for having us here today to go over the contract renewal for the Westchester Power program. I'm Anjali Khanna. I'm the program manager, and I'm joined by Nick Pedro, the deputy program director. Okay, next slide. So to start, we were all facing a shared challenge of climate change. Next slide. Sorry, I'll apologize for the
That's fine.
transitions. It is clear that climate action is a priority here in Pleasantville, as can be seen by the climate actions the village has already taken, with the Bronze Climate Smart Community certification and 2-star designation from the Clean Energy Communities program. Next slide. But climate change is still a pressing issue. And we're already seeing the impacts of it here in New York. The temperatures are increasing at a faster rate than the average around the US. And with higher temperatures, the air can hold more water, which leads to more frequent and more intense storms. Next slide. And just a couple of weeks ago, there were heavy rains that led to flooding. And then we've seen the impacts last year with these, as these pictures show, with flooding across the county, and then a mudslide on the Metro North tracks in Tarrytown. Next slide. And climate change is a global issue with impacts around the world. There have been major flooding events, storms, wildfires, and more, all caused by climate change that threaten communities globally. Next slide. We know that climate change intensifies existing inequalities from both a health perspective and a financial perspective. The impacts of climate change will be felt disproportionately by disadvantaged communities, compounding existing health disparities, with the effects of extreme heat and poor air quality, and through financial burdens that these communities are not as readily able to address. It is necessary that we act with a sense of urgency. Next slide. And the state has laid out ambitious goals to aid in addressing the clean energy transition to do just that. Next slide. And Sustainable Westchester is here to help municipalities take action on climate change. We are a nonprofit organization and a municipal shared service created by and for our member municipalities. Sustainable Westchester programs provide many benefits for communities. Our community solar program provides guaranteed savings for subscribers who sign up to join a solar farm. The Energy Smart Homes team help homeowners identify clean heating and cooling options and find incentives for making their homes more efficient. The building decarbonization team is working with municipalities to create thermal energy networks, and a whole bunch of other programming. And next slide. And the Westchester Power program in particular really is a cornerstone of climate action. Next slide. Serving 29 municipalities with 140,000 residents and small businesses enrolled in the program. Next one. The goals of this program are threefold: to provide clean energy, to expand consumer choice, and to cap electricity costs. Next slide. In terms of providing clean energy, Westchester Power has been incredibly successful. In 2023 alone, Westchester Power program participants mitigated over 310,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Next slide. And to put that in perspective, that is roughly equivalent to taking more than 73,000 gas-powered cars off the road per year. Slide. And based on the Department of Environmental Conservation's calculation, that's the same as over $40 million in social costs averted from healthcare costs, infrastructure costs, emergency service costs, etc. Next slide. In terms of expanding consumer choice, Westchester Power makes a new option for energy supply available. Without CCA, there are two options for consumers: utility, that is mostly fossil fuel based and highly variable month to month, or a private contract with an energy service company, which can work very well for some people, but for many others, the process of securing a private contract can be very confusing and difficult to navigate, and they sometimes engage in predatory practices. With CCA, those two options remain available for anyone who would like them. They can still receive supply from Con Ed or an ESCO, and Westchester Power adds a third option, providing 100% renewable energy and long-term fixed rates. With the traditional model, the utility is the default, and with CCA, the Westchester Power is the default. In every scenario, there is a default, and CCA adds the ability for the municipality to select that based on their interest. Next slide. In terms of capping electricity costs, the Westchester Power rates are fixed and are predictable month to month, whereas the utility rates vary, and Con Ed specifically has been as low as 4 cents and as high as 16.9 cents since the program launched. Next slide. There are some additional benefits that come from participating in Westchester Power. For one, it opens up access to state grants through NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities program. Signing another agreement with Westchester Power before the deadline this year would get you a 3-star designation and open up $100,000 in grant money that could go to other sustainability initiatives. Next slide. We also provide customer service and education. Serving as a consumer-friendly program, there are no fees or penalties for exiting or joining the program, and customers are able to opt in and out whenever they like and as much as they like. There is easily accessible information located on our website where customers can learn more about their energy options or find guides on how to read their bill. And customers can always reach out to us by phone or email if they have any questions. Help is offered in English and Spanish, and of course, help from municipal staff is always available. Next slide. And we will continue to improve our communication in the future by working on a customized plan for each municipality that optimizes the communication channels that are the most effective in that community. This communication could include enhanced messaging during the opt-out period, monthly email updates, community workshops, and more. Okay. Next slide. So the program aims to empower consumers to make the best decisions for themselves.
No pun intended.
Yes. Customers can always opt out, and it is very easy to do so. During an opt-out period, they can return the opt-out card that's included in the mailing, and at any other time, they can opt out by filling out a form on our website, emailing us, or calling us. Again, there are never any fees or penalties for opting out, and customers can opt out as much as they like. Customers that have chosen to opt out in the past will never be automatically enrolled in the program again, unless if they choose to do so at any point, then they'll be enrolled. And then, yeah, that's it done. So through this program, everyone is empowered. Residents and businesses are empowered to make the best decisions for themselves based on price, predictability, and environmental action, and municipalities are able to advance community priorities. So a little bit more information on our current contract. With this contract, the rate for 100% renewable energy is 15.449 cents per kilowatt hour, and for standard is 13.685 cents. And this is a 2-year contract that is ending on October 31st of this year. And that's why we're coming to talk about a contract renewal. And we recognize that the terms of this contract are not the best and that these rates have been above the Con Ed rates. Next slide. And it's important to understand the context of this contract, which will hopefully make it clear that these challenges were unique to the timing of the contracting back in 2022. This contract was concluded just as the war in Ukraine was breaking out, when energy prices were high and only predicted to go higher. And then contrary to what everyone thought was going to happen, the energy prices declined, leaving Westchester Power rates higher than the utility. Next slide. But if you look at the long-term pricing of the program, it has been competitive. And the years where Westchester Power rates have been above and below the utility price are roughly equal. It really was just a unique circumstance of the past contract. Next slide. And importantly, the 100% renewable product has consistently been on the low end of 100% renewable supply options when compared to other renewable offerings from ESCOs, even in this contract, which is a more apples to apples comparison in terms of product offerings. Okay, next slide. And there are new contract opportunities that make 2024 different. So the indicatives that we have received most recently suggest that there will be a reduction in rates. These numbers can, of course, move until we contract. So there are no guarantees that these rates will be what the rate is. But with these current rates, should incentive to move quickly and lock in these lower rates. And I'll get more into what those rates are in a couple of slides. But first, the market conditions are very different now than they were back in 2022, and the market shows advantages for having a fixed rate. There is likely to be a constraint in 2025 as old, dirty power plants come offline quicker than renewable generation is added to the grid, and that constraint will likely increase utility prices. So there'll be an advantage to having a fixed rate that is stable during what are predicted to be high rates. Other things that may increase utility rates are the pressure on natural gas prices, which drive electricity rates due to high exports and what is predicted to be a hot summer that will increase demand. Because of these constraints and demand, it is likely that fixed rates will be advantageous. Next slide. We also have a new opportunity with this contract in terms of renewable energy. Westchester Power secures renewable energy through renewable energy certificates, or RECs, where one REC equals 1 megawatt hour of renewable generation put on the grid. And New York State has classified renewable energy generation into different tiers based on what facility generates the energy. Previously, Westchester Power has purchased Tier 2 RECs to match the 100% renewable supply option. And Tier 2 RECs come from the maintenance of legacy generation, mainly hydropower facilities constructed before 2015 that might otherwise stop generation. These RECs were the only option available to the voluntary market and are now available only in a limited supply. This is partly because the voluntary market here in New York has grown and there are now more CCAs and more municipalities participating in CCAs. And then Tier 1 RECs, which are primarily new wind and solar generation, they were not previously available, but will become available to the voluntary market in 2025. And they're both renewable options, but Tier 1 is generally considered to be like a deeper green because it drives new renewable generation and adds renewable generation to the grid that would not otherwise be there. So to put this in context of what the future options are compared to where we are currently, in the past, the 100% renewable option has been fully backed by Tier 2 RECs, but a possible shortage in Tier 2 RECs means that the base contract would have to be a 50% renewable supply, with that 50% backed by Tier 2 RECs. With this contract, there would still be the option for individual consumers to opt up to a 100% renewable supply option if they wanted that.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you just repeat this last part again so that I understand the distinction here?
Oh, about the Tier 1 and Tier 2?
Yeah, so tier 2 would be 100% renewable. That's the more.
Oh, yeah, so in the option we have right now,
I see.
we have 100% of your usage is matched by Tier 2 RECs. But because of the limit on Tier 2 RECs, going forward, they can only guarantee that they will be able to match 50% of usage.
Okay.
So then it'll be a 50% renewable product matched with Tier 2 RECs. But that's also part of the challenges, because there may be availability of more Tier 2 RECs. That isn't known now, but will be known later in the year. So there is the option for a 100% Tier 2 product, but we just can't guarantee that right now.
And the other 50% would be Tier 1, or it would be.
So for that first option, the other 50% would just be your grid mix. So it's mostly fossil fuels. So that's why that's only a 50% renewable product.
Okay.
And in the end, in terms of the pricing of all that, are Tier 1 and Tier 2 RECs equivalent in price in the market?
So that's also unknown right now. Their Tier 1 RECs used to be a lot more, but now they're coming down to be closer to what Tier 2 RECs are.
Yes.
And they've released the pricing for the first half of Tier 1 RECs, but the rest of the pricing that goes into the Tier 1 RECs will be released in July. So right now they're about 3 cents. And if you had like a 100% product, it would add a 3 cents based on your fossil fuel based thing. But we don't know what the actual full price is right now.
Right.
Yeah. So
fast moving target.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of projection of when the fossil fuel product and the renewable are going to be equivalent, or perhaps even inverse in terms of cost?
That's a good question. I actually don't know if there's any answer for that.
There's no exact time frame of when that sort of inversion happens, but it will be just dependent on how quickly the infrastructure can come up to speed, and as well as the actual generation facilities themselves to, support the capacity needs of our area. So, while today we're pretty still reliant on fossil fuel peaker plants, things like that, retiring those and bringing online solar, wind, and the associated storage we need to support the intermittency of those resources, and all the other infrastructure that needs to get built, that is going to be a little while. So, it's hard to say what a point in time will be that they're,
Right, so there are no projections out there that.
it's not gonna be the next 2 years or anything, that's.
Yeah.
But what's clear is that sustaining ongoing demand and reliable future demand is what drives investment in
Absolutely.
those alternative fuels.
New York's about 50% renewable now, right?
Well, in terms of things in the pipeline, probably, yeah. I'm not exactly sure what the number is on built and interconnected and operating, but I think that sounds about right.
So the first contract would be the 50-50.
Yeah,
And the hypothetical opportunity to convert to all green may arise depending on supply.
yeah. So that will, I'll actually get into it in 2 slides, but,
Okay.
in the next slide will be, the indicatives that I was talking about earlier. So these are the rates based on the energy markets today. With the indicatives for a 50% option, which is a 50% tier 2, or, excuse me, sorry, 50% tier 2 RECs and 50% other fossil fuel mix. So that would be 11.3 cents per kilowatt hour. And then the 100% tier 2 option, which is what we have today, is 12.4 cents per kilowatt hour. And then the third option, which would be a blend of tier 1 and tier 2 RECs, is 12.9 cents per kilowatt hour. So for all 3 options, the rates are lower than what the current 100% renewable rate is of 15.449 cents per kilowatt hour. And comparing that to the same option today shows a reduction of 20% in rates. And these rates are, they're just what we've heard most recently. So there's no guarantee that these are what the actual rates will be, but this gives us an incentive to move quickly, which is why we're trying to contract soon. Rates are expected to go up as we go into summer, and, contracting earlier likely means better rates.
Especially if heat weeks like this.
Yeah. Okay, so this one is more of the optionality and questions with that. So, because the price of tier 1 RECs will only be known in July, and then the sale of those RECs will occur in August. And then the availability of the tier 2 RECs would also only be known in July. So that makes the timeline look like this, with signing a contract for a 50% tier 2 default at the end of June. And then in July, the REC availability and pricing for tier 1 and tier 2 RECs will be known. And municipalities that would like a 100% renewable default would sign a contract amendment to make that change. And then in August, the supplier purchases the RECs and the contract amendments for the 100% renewable default are executed. Next slide. So because of the short time between the price announcement and sale, and because we do not yet know the price or availability of these RECs, there are 2 different MOU options we are presenting. Option A is for the default to be a 50% renewable from tier 2 RECs, with the opt-up only option of 100% renewable from tier 2 RECs. So that's the base contract that we have. And then option B would allow for a default of the 100% renewable energy once tier 1 and tier 2 prices are known, at which point municipality could decide to either switch to a 100% renewable default or just stick with the 50% renewable default. Okay, so for the timeline, we are hoping you'll be able to give consideration to the memorandum of understanding and formalize your participation in the program as early as possible. And then Sustainable Westchester will hold a bid for the base contract with the 50% renewable default option in late June, but we're hoping for a June 26th or June 27th. And then the municipalities would sign that base contract. And then after the contract is awarded, REC pricing and availability will be known, at which point the municipalities that selected the second MOU option can decide if they'll switch to a 100% default or continue with a 50% default. That will be followed by our public meetings, the opt-out period, and customers will begin enrollment starting on a rolling basis on November 1st.
And would it be a 2-year contract you're going to engage?
So when we take bids, we take it for like 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months, just whatever the suppliers bid, and then whatever the rates, like whatever the best rates they have, that's what the contract would be.
And then Mr. Mayor and Board, just so you know, there's a resolution on tonight's meeting agenda to consider this opt-out option.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've seen 29% as of 2022, so obviously we're up from there in terms of renewable generation. I'm not connected on my laptop, I'm trying to play on my phone.
Yeah. So I think let me just go back to your slide about the history of all this. Obviously, when we got involved in this way back when, it was clear that a fixed rate entails some risk. You don't know what's going to happen in the market. And what happened with the war in Ukraine and its resultant effects obviously turned things upside down in ways that nobody could predict. But part of it is to take the long view, which when you look at it since 2016 has been a pretty impressive result. A very modest difference for the full renewable option as compared to the Con Ed ground supply. And then the other piece of it, and you already touched on it, is the aspects of this that have supported Sustainable Westchester and your many other programs that are generating positive environmental impacts and giving people new options to do things. And then, as you already made clear, for those who don't like this, they're entirely free to opt out at any time. They're also entirely free to opt in again. And, I certainly know people who switch back and forth between Optimum and Verizon Fios every time a new offer is created, and have at it if that's what you want to do. But it's also important to note that, and you already touched on it, that a lot of these energy service companies offer deals that turn out to have quite a bit of fine print and trap people with penalties to get out of them, and there are no penalties at all in any of this. So I just reiterate all of that on behalf of members of the community who may be watching, who are concerned that we have locked them into some sort of a program they may not want to be in. If you don't want to be in it, you don't have to be in it. But by the same token, these two big benefits of aggregated purchasing, producing, we hope, better results in the marketplace, and also new demand and new reliable demand for a green energy supporting this free market economy that's developing it around our state are very worthy goals, and ones that, at least speaking personally, feel like an appropriate role for government to be trying to improve the public good. So
Agreed.
I don't have to convince you to.
I'm the Climate Smart Task Force, so you're preaching to the computer to me, but I'm wrapping my head around the new model. But I like that there's going to be this option potentially further down the road for these two streams of renewable energy. Yeah, so.
Yeah, we'll know soon about, the tier ones being more immediate thing for sure this summer, so it's a good thing, a step towards progress.
Yeah.
Having a deeper impact for sure.
So there might be some questions conceivably from anybody who's signed on via Zoom. If you're a participant via Zoom and had a question to ask, raise your hand in the participant window, and we will engage your question. Are there any questions out there among our attendees? I see no raised hands. Any other questions from us? I thank you very much. As Eric already mentioned, we have a resolution on tonight to take the action you seek, so that we won't be in the way of your progress.
Thank you.
Never in our way. All right.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then for anyone who's watching or who watches in the future, obviously this Zoom presentation is recorded and is available at pctv76.org within a short period of time. And we can also post the Sustainable Westchester presentation on our website. Perhaps we can do that, Eric, on the main page at news, and for anyone who would like to dig into it.
Thank you.
Thanks an awful lot.
Yeah, nice night.
Take care.
Take care.
At a time. Nice.
7 minutes ahead of time.
7 minutes ahead of time and we got started late, so she was admirably efficient. All right, so folks from the Nicholas Center are gonna zoom in.
They are.
Have they done so yet?
Let's see.
You just added this project abstract, right?
I did, yeah.
Is that what they say, everything, right? Yes.
So for context, local nonprofits are able to submit for CDBG funding, which is federal funds administered by county.
Community Development Block Grants.
Yeah. In order for nonprofits, even ourselves, we need to present these projects publicly in work session. They need to get the support of their local government. So they'll present today, and actually the senior center will be submitting. That's really our only eligible projects related to senior citizens or senior program.
Okay, so I mean, obviously it's an impressive operation in the Nicholas Center, and Spectrum Designs have been great assets here at Westchester. So
I'm gonna call Nicole, see if she's available. Right.
all right, Emmy.
Hi, guys. Sorry. Can you hear me?
That's great. Did you, the folks from Sustainable Westchester have left, but did you have
Yeah.
any to ask?
No, I didn't. I was listening in, but for some reason, my audio wasn't working on my laptop, but I understood what they were saying.
It's working now. You're loud and clear.
Yeah, I just gotta get on my video here. I love the sunglasses, Nicole.
Yeah, I lost my glasses, so the option of my sunglasses or my reading glasses right now.
Oh, they look so cool. Like, I think you should do that.
I said, see, I said cool trustee, right on.
I'll take it. Better than the ones I get at home.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know why this isn't working as much, but sorry, guys. You can hear me. You can't see me, right?
Right. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay.
And in order for you to vote in the regular session, we have to be able to see you.
Okay. Let's see.
So
if
you
I-
have 24 minutes to figure that out.
Okay.
There is Millie Beckers from the Nicholas Center. Millie, are you there with Nicole?
I am actually not with Nicole. She is in, she texted me, she's in her car and she's driving to Long Island where she lives. She's the executive director, as you know, of the Nicholas Center. Nicole asked me to join because I'm a parent of a boy who attends the Nicholas Center. He's been going there since February. I'm very grateful for the program and support it wholeheartedly. Hope to duplicate it or expand it in a way that it will be available to more families, because this is really about families. It's not about the individuals, it's about the families. And with that said, one of the things that Nicole and I are working on together with about 5 or 6 families from Pleasantville is the housing piece of this. And I happen to sit on the committee for the Family Task Force, the Westchester County Family Task Force. And I presented to them about 2 months ago a deck on the need for housing for our population, specifically here in Westchester County. And they were pretty, impressed by the numbers. And we formed a committee to look at possible sites, churches that are no longer active, some properties that perhaps the county owns that they would be willing to lease and turn into a model where we can create connections and community for this population of neurodiverse young people.
Thank you, Millie. Hi, it's Nicole.
Hi.
Nicole.
I made it. Thank you so much for making this time to hear about our project. And thank you, Millie, for that information. You're getting involved in some really exciting stuff. So where would you like me to start?
So you are seeking our endorsement of a CDBG grant, is that?
Yes, Mayor, sure. I'm looking
Yes.
to expand our vocational and life skills training center that we have on Tompkins.
Yes.
And we currently lease about 3,600 square feet at that commercial property. And just recently, another 2,600 square feet did open up, and we have signed that agreement for another 5 years. It
Wow,
was
to expand, right?
Yes. We're looking to, over the next 3 years, we're starting the program 2025 year into 2027 to increase by 60 participants to bring our totals to 90. We currently have a waiting list of about 203 to be exact, individuals who are very interested in attending the program. We've had such an increased demand, and our facilities could only accommodate a limited number of participants. And not only that, it's furthermore, we're going to be looking at creating another 17 new jobs, which brings a tremendous amount of economy. It stimulates the economy. Our staff absolutely love all the incredible places that you have there to eat breakfast, lunch, after hours. We host many of our own parties and fundraisers in the area. So I did send you a project abstract.
Yes, we're looking at it right now.
Yes, and I'd be very happy to talk about our plan over the next 3 years in regards to the timeline of that particular proposal.
So your goal in this would be $50,000 a year in CDBG grants?
Yes, sir.
And
Mhm.
that obviously only funds a piece of what you're trying to do here, right?
Yes. Our the complete budget pool every year, it's so the first year our total going into this year, we're looking at expenses of over 2 million, about 2,000,009. And we will be going into the project with a $408,000 deficit, which will be covered by reserves. And into the following year, we're looking to, once we increase to the 20 new clients, bringing us to 50, we'll be looking at total revenues of about 2.1, expenses about 2 million, with a surplus of 71,000. And with each passing year, as we increase capacity, we're able to, while we're incurring somewhat of an expense for the staffing, for every 20 individuals we take in, we hire 5 staff. And for every 10 staff that we have, we then ensure that we have a management level position that supervises that staff. So, by the end of this particular expansion, we're looking to be more secure in our positioning, and we have a very conservative estimate that we would be at a surplus of $169,000 a year, which would, the surpluses are typically used to acquire more capital equipment such as vans, and those types of things, because once we get that level of capacity reach, we will need a lot of transportation to get them to and from all of their community, whether it's volunteer work, doing stewardship work with nonprofits, or going into their paid employment or paid internships, which we've grown very much so in the short period of time, considering that 80% of our population is unemployed. The fact that we have 30 individuals in our own facility and 12 are employed, I think our track record is quite good. It's our model is proven, and it's just been, and the community in itself, not only within Pleasantville, but the surrounding areas have been extremely receptive to inclusive employment. So we are very excited to keep doing that and multiplying that the work that we're doing.
Well, all that goes on there, I have seen myself and have heard from many others, nothing but an extraordinary benefit to our community to have you guys doing what you do and to have Spectrum Design just down the street as well. Really quite a remarkable addition to the services available in our community. And it would certainly be my view that we should enthusiastically endorse your effort here.
Thank you very much.
I'm in agreement. I think that the services that you provide, I think, are so essential. In reading the abstract and just, I've been invited to some of the events you've had when you've honored a couple of your employees there. And I think it's just incredible what you're doing, specifically because it's so difficult and disheartening seeing that a lot of these young men and women who are in these IEPs and essentially finish up the high school and are kind of just left with nothing. So it's so great to hear that they have a place they can go to and really be able to contribute to the communities and to be able to be employed and to really show that they have so much to offer and such a value to our village, our community, and our overall economy.
Agreed.
Yes, thank
And
you.
it's wonderful that the Nicholas Center recognizes that and is filling that need, because I personally waited 2 years to get John into the Nicholas Center from the first time I read about it and applied. And what I liked about it was the process was rigorous to get in. It wasn't, they met with the families. They wanted to make sure that they had the family support, which is so important. And that's what brings me to the housing piece, because a lot of these young people, as they grow older, they really don't want to live at home. They want to live with each other. They want to live in a community where they can go out to the park or go out to a movie. And recently, we have been speaking to the Methodist Church there on, 70 Bedford Road there. And they are not going to be resuming their congregation, and that's a sad thing. But they are going to put that on the market. And as I said earlier, we're working with a group of Pleasantville families who want to pool their resources to possibly purchase that and turn it into not a facility, but a condo kind of home for these young people.
So I'm going to sneeze. Apologies for that. Keep us up to date on that. The story of the Methodist Church has lots of chapters. And it will be interesting to see if in fact they are ready to put it on the market. I'm aware others have talked to me about this idea, which is clearly serving a community need. It would require a zoning change to permit that use at that property. So I say that not to discourage you, but just to provide some.
Well, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that.
Right.
And there's another property that's in Pleasantville that, interestingly enough, was discovered by myself and the two other moms from Pleasantville. We were driving around and we found this property that it hadn't been abandoned. It looked like it was being built for housing, had apartments in it and parking built underneath. It's 98 Washington Avenue.
Yes.
And I looked at it and I called the number and no one got back to me. And then a week later, it was in the Westchester Business Journal that the developer had been given some grant money, IDA money or something from the county, and the county was suing them
That
to
is
get
true.
the money back.
A very, very long and very tortured story.
Yeah,
Um,
so I
I
guess
can tell you, I think the idea of supportive housing of this kind is great. I would caution you that 98 Washington may not be a realistic option given the history there. So that's an undertaking that some families involved in the Nicholas Center would undertake. Am I right, Nicole, that that wouldn't be a Nicholas Center venture, or might it be?
In the support realm, it might be. So, obviously we have many families that are looking to find housing options in a walking distance from a place where they come and recreate and spend their day and learn skills, and some also working. This is not something new in our location here in Long Island. We have several families who have purchased single family homes and have gone out that way. But yes, what we provide in that instance is we would provide maybe the staffing or ensuring staff management. We have discussed whether or not the nonprofit would want to purchase properties as such, because there are folks that don't have the resources to put down for down payment, and the organization has been talking about acquiring real estate for that particular purpose.
And we would want to make it available
Yes.
to families. It's there's such a great need here, and we as families want to find a solution, but there's a great need here for a lot of families, and we would want to find a way to make it, set aside a certain amount of apartments for people who couldn't afford it. I mean, think about in Tuckahoe right now, they took the convent of the Immaculate Conception and turned it into 14 apartments, did a lottery. The Archdiocese did a lottery. 400 people applied. They had, 17 apartments or whatever. And that's it. You won the that's it. There's no more. And that project took 5 years to do. What happens to all the rest of us? So I just know that I'm at the table a lot in the business community. I'm a realtor. I've been involved with, the government, and I sit on a lot of committees. And I hear a lot of talk about, affordable housing, the missing middle, which is very important. My parents were teachers and everything, but no one talks about our population. Like, no one mentions the neurodiverse. No one mentions these young people who live in our community, whose parents say, hey, I'm not moving to Florida. Why can't we stay? Why can't we? No, I'm not. I want to stay here. I want to create this here. And that's my mission now. And I met Nicole, and we're like, mishpucha. We're like, sisters now, because we have this mission, and that's what it takes. I have to tell you.
Yeah, and the housing, as you mentioned, like teachers and such, the workforce that work with our, this is also would be considered maybe workforce housing. These people are not they're making maybe at most $20, $23. They would certainly actually be eligible for affordable workforce housing. So I think that this serves multiple needs, considering the numbers are only going up. There are hundreds of children in Westchester County that are graduating each year. And, the day services employment is one thing, but then ultimately, as their parents continue to age, many of our kids that are 28, 30, I mean, you have parents that are nearing their 70s or in their 70s. And there's no plan. So
forget that. They're in their 80s. Okay. The most frightening experience I ever had was about 7 years ago. I went to a GROW conference at WIHD in Valhalla. I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's parents of people with, with developmental disabilities. and the auditorium was filled with people, gray-haired people with their adult children. And the looks on their faces it was like hopeless. It was like, what do I do now? What's going to happen? And I remember thinking to myself, oh no, that's not going to be me. I have to figure this out. There has to be a solution to this. And it's because, you know, the evolution of this, you know, people now, it's more acceptable to have these folks in society. But if we're going to do that, then we have to create housing for them, you know, and make it happen. So I just, like I said, when I met Nicole and we started discussing this, it really resonated with me.
Yeah, and we're definitely doers. You know, we're not looking for handouts in that way. We will, you know, completely maximize every public and private dollar that we have to ensure that, you know, we continue to serve this community. So we want to be an asset to you all and to help you respond to perhaps, you know, other voices that I may not be aware of, but you are, you know, who are bringing these needs to your attention. So we want to help. And we're ready to do that. And we have people who are very motivated to do that. So I want to let you know we want to be here also for, you know, our public offices and whatever your, you know, your initiatives are in that space. So.
All right. So, I mean, that is great and much appreciated. And as I already said, the arrival of the Nicholas Center in Pleasantville was a very, very fortunate moment for us, and you guys have delivered on everything you've sought to do and then some. And happy to support the CDBG grant. What is needed on that front? A letter from us, or?
Yeah, they just need to show that minutes from the meeting that we discussed it.
All right. We discussed it and we support you. And then, you know, going forward, especially in the context of the discussion about housing, you know, perhaps we can get together offline at some point, because I can shed some light on some of the history.
I would love that.
Yeah, some of the properties you have mentioned.
At your convenience, you know, absolutely.
So that you're realistic about what might be involved, and also know where some of the bones are buried. So
I love it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
an awful lot.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
We'll likely have a resolution just formalized.
For sure.
Support.
Yeah.
At the next.
Yeah. I mean, as you've seen it as well,
Yeah.
you know, what they do at the Nicholas Center and now doubling in size.
Yeah.
And then Spectrum Designs is really quite remarkable. Great news, Eric. Kristen Trezza hired as a new recreational leader.
Yes, recent grad of SUNY Portland. We're very excited.
A long time coming.
Yes. Now, that is the newly created position that we budgeted for.
Right.
So they'll do general support. We're still finalizing the title that will be Panther Club specific.
And are you getting anywhere with civil service?
We are, we have a title.
Oh my God.
Yep, we have a title created. Now we're just finalizing that.
Yeah.
It will be competitive title, although initially that person would be hired what's called provisionally until that test is given. So could be years before a test is given, but there's always that caveat. And so in order for somebody who's provisionally appointed to maintain their position, they need to score in the top 3 whenever.
It's really, I mean, and it's not possible to use that authorization I heard of at the NICOM.
There is some possibility if we do run into them. Prior to that, there was not a glimmer of hope, but now.
That was a mechanism by which you could avoid this circumstance where someone is hired with this sort of Damocles over their neck, potentially to lose their job if they don't score in the top 3. All right, 2 minutes to go. Do you want me to announce why you're wearing sunglasses?
No, I'll change. It's just that, like, if I have to look at a distance, I can't.
I don't know. You look at, you know, as has already been said, it's kind of, you know.
Next time I will have, Do we actually have a meeting next week? That's what my calendar
We do.
says.
We do.
Because we
Remind me how we got to this
we skipped a week because we couldn't do the 10th. I was away. And,
Oh, right.
we did the bill paying meeting on the 7th, but just the bill paying meeting. So
Yes, okay.
2 weeks in a row. It's an opportunity. Look at it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
An opportunity.
An opportunity for what?
Hey, come
I'm
on,
not
you
sure,
guys.
but-
Years ago, we used to meet every week.
Oh, what an opportunity.
I mean,
It's the night before eighth
Exactly.
grade graduation.
I had a chamber thing today. I had a football meeting today, all missed.
You missed them all because of your work.
Because of.
Oh, because of this. Well,
This meeting is not normally on.
your priorities are in order. Thank you.
Say.
Eric, do you think that you could access me as one of the panelists?
Yeah, you should be on as a, oh, wait. Oh,
Yeah, I don't think I'm a panelist either.
okay. Promote to panelists. Promote to panelists.
You're being promoted.
Can you go? Oh, here we go. All right. I'm back on.
Yay.
There you go.
Yay.
Nice to see you.
I should put on sunglasses actually and just join you, Nicole, because the sleeplessness is getting to me. But the
I'm gonna switch to my sexy reading glasses.
yeah, those are great.
Librarian.
The best. There's a lot of activity at the house, so just pardoning.
That's okay.
If I have to jump, I will just try my best to notify. But it's the witching hour for littles.
Mm.
Yes.
Sure is.
All right. It's 8 p.m. Let's begin our regular meeting.
Great.
Good evening and welcome to the village board meeting for the village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, June 17. We're a little off our regular schedule because of various other problems in keeping our schedule to the regular second and fourth Monday. So we're meeting today, the 17th. We are also meeting next Monday, the 24th, work session at 7 p.m., regular session at 8. Tonight, there are 3 of us in person, me, Paul, and Nicole. Yami Healy, who you see on Zoom, is participating and a voting member of the board tonight. She is unable to attend for a medical reason. By the village code, that is a permissible reason to participate and to vote remotely. Welcome, Yemi. Thank you for doing this. I had a couple of announcements to make just for starters, and then we'll take public comment and then move on. A few things to say. We haven't had a regular meeting since Memorial Day, and I wanted to send a shout out to everybody who participated in our Memorial Day services, most especially the Venture Nickel American Legion post, but also the Pleasantville High School marching band, which participates annually. We also had great support from the Scouts, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, Brownies all arrived, and as is always the case, the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department was front and center as well. So really, really appreciated everyone's involvement. We had literally every member of the village board and every member of the school board participating. So it's an important day to remember our history as Americans and our history as Pleasantvilleans, and I appreciated everybody's involvement. Couple of other announcements to make. It's as likely you have already seen, likely to be very hot this week. But our pool is open. If you haven't yet joined, you can still do so. And we are open on weekdays this week. The schedule, I had that schedule at some point and I announced it and should have.
See if I can pull it up.
All right, somebody else can pull it up. It's on the rec site. But anyway, pool is up and running and open on a little bit more limited hours until school is out and then rocking and rolling in its regular hours. I can report that we're in conversation about the proposal to replace the pool with a new pool. I think a lot of you who are interested in the pool have been following that project as it's wound its way along several years of history. We received bids and then had the low bidder withdraw the bid because of some errors they had made it would appear likely that we're going to have to rebid that project, and we're likely going to rebid it with an add option to remove some aspect of the flood mitigation and see what kind of numbers we get back. But we're jumping quickly to make that happen, and we'll have more to report. A lot of folks have been wondering why we got started on the last phase of the Manville Road Pedestrian Improvement Project and then have come to a grinding halt. I can report that, as you have seen, that work has been ongoing to create the third lane, the right turn only lane between Valvoline and the War Monuments. But in the course of that excavation, the foundation on the pole that holds up the span wire, that holds up the traffic lights, was found to be different from what was expected, and it engendered a long and complicated conversation with the Department of Transportation, which owns the poles, which not for nothing installed the poles, about how to resolve that. We were pretty confident we had a way forward. It took quite a long time for Department of Transportation to wrap their arms around what would be the right way forward. We think we have finally achieved agreement about what to do, but drawings are being done, and then we will have to finalize that and get the contractor back to finish the work. We were within literally 2 to 3 weeks of finishing the whole project, which would have allowed us today, June 17th, to be reporting the project was done. And instead, we're reporting that we're waiting to find out when we get the contractor back, when we finally get the sign off from DOT about this slightly changed conditions around holding up that pole. As you also may have heard and was reported in the Examiner, we're also waiting on the final permit from the MTA for the work over the bridge. That isn't a failure on our part. The contractor, the prime contractor, has to supply the necessary indemnifications and insurances. Eric has been earning gray hair trying to make that happen. As you likely know, it is a difficult project to make all of these pieces align and to make quick progress, but I can tell you a whole lot of people are working really, really hard to make this, to get this finished and to create the new condition for pedestrians along Manville Road. As soon as that is done and the elbow slip lane out of Memorial Plaza is closed, we have bids back and are going to accept tonight the bids for the next phase of the work, which is to create the first phase of the civic space, which would occupy the closed slip lane area. We have been pinging folks with emails showing you what the finished result would look like. We have a few banners around in Memorial Plaza if you want to take a look when you're down there to see what the end result will look like. But many more trees, more green space, and dramatically better pedestrian conditions. And for the first time in their history, a truly honorific setting for our war monuments, which will remain exactly where they are. Folks have asked about the flags. The flag poles are coming back, exactly the same flag poles that we had to take down to protect them during the construction, but that is also coming back. Have I covered the bases on that, Eric? Anything to add on that?
No.
You want the information on pool?
Oh, yes, the pool hours.
So the pool is currently open on weekdays from 3 to 8 p.m. Juneteenth, which is a federal holiday, it will be open from 12:30 to 8 p.m. And then starting on the 24th of June, on weekdays, it will be open from 12:30 to 8 p.m.
Okay. Going to be quite hot in the coming few days. Pool would be a great place to be.
Absolutely.
Thanks to everybody who signed up, and we look forward to folks having a good and cool time at the Pleasantville Pool. I can report today, I just came back before this meeting from ribbon cutting over at Phelps Hospital for a new med-surg inpatient floor on 5 North, dramatically renovated, beautiful, all private rooms, many with Hudson River views. And that project includes 2 compassionate care rooms, as they are calling them, essentially palliative care for folks in the last chapter of their lives, providing both a serene and quite beautiful setting for folks and families in that circumstance. So that is a really great addition to our extended community at Phelps Hospital. So shout out to all those folks at Phelps, to a number of private donors who made it possible. It's Northwell Health that, as you likely know, is the owner and operator of both Phelps and Northern Westchester So really good things going on at Phillips. That's a good segue into the Northwell Health presenting sponsor of the Pleasantville Music Festival, Saturday, July 13. Get thee to PleasantvilleMusicFestival.org. You can click into that and find out all that's going on. All the bands on 3 different stages, and you can buy tickets now. Definitely an advantage to buy tickets in advance, so you don't have to wait in line and to avoid the increase in fees day up. So PleasantvilleMusicFestival.com. We hope to see everybody at the music festival Saturday, July 13. Paul, you want your block party report?
Yep, so first, a few things about the chamber was awarded recipient of the Rotary 100-year celebration, and the Chamber of Commerce of Pleasantville was awarded the recipient of the work that they've done. So that was congratulations to the chamber and also to the Rotary Club, 100 years of service. In regard to the block party, we put out the save the date. The block party is scheduled for September 21st, 2024, with a rain date of September 28th, 2024. By the end of this week, we will have a tier of all the different sponsorships available to any businesses that are looking to help sponsor the event. If you have any questions towards that, just take a look at our website. And we'll start getting that. And then we're also working on the sign up as well for all the different vendors. The most important information for that is if you want to participate in the event as a vendor, we advise you to be a actual member, because there's a higher fee if you are to, actually it's free if you're a member of the chamber. And if you're not, then there's a high fee to be able to participate. So this is in a way to welcome more members to become a part of this event.
Thank you, sir. And as Paul already mentioned, the Rotary Club of Pleasantville is celebrating a century of service in a really nice event. And then just this past Saturday, Boy Scout Troop 12 celebrated the 70th anniversary of Troop 12, its founding in the 1950s here in Pleasantville, New York. So that was a nice event, and quite a few people came back, including Scouts and Eagle Scouts from way, way back. I was pleased and proud to have our Sergeant Eric Birwa there, Eagle Scout from some years back in Pleasantville, New York, and he brought his son along. And in what can only be described as a really great as well as amusing moment, the Scouts had a series of presentations up showing things that happened in history. And one of them was a clipping from the 1960s about a Scout named Art Masker, who had been mayor for a day and talked about his experience shadowing the mayor in 1961 or something like that, some year around there. And as I'm wandering around, who do I encounter but Art Masker, who now lives in Tennessee. He was a Scout with Troop 12 from 1958 to 1965 and was mayor for a day in, I think, 1961. So very glad to welcome you back to Pleasantville, New York, Art Masker from Tennessee. So I got a picture of him in front of the clipping. All right, anything else? All right. With that, are there any comments on any subject from a member of the public? If you, I was going to say, raise your hand, and Bill has a lot already done so. Is that you, Bill Stoller?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
That's
we
good.
know who you are, but if you could give us your name and address for the record.
Sure. I'm Bill Stoller, 69 Maple Hill Road here in Pleasantville. And the three people sitting on the board, I know two from previous meetings and one who used to live down the street. So that's where we are.
There we go.
Okay. And anyway, so I was planning to talk about the Sustainable Westchester thing, and I kind of went by your timetable for the work session and popped on as it was early, I thought, as it was ending, and the guy was about to leave the room, and I wasn't ready to say anything. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, so
well,
here I
there's a 40-page PowerPoint, which I
yes,
can email
yes,
you.
no, I already seen the PowerPoint.
Okay, great.
Eric actually emailed to me earlier, and I knew I could get it
Okay,
online too. So, so basically, I should start off by saying I'm not a flat earther, and I'm not. You don't have my picture, do you? My picture didn't come up, really?
It didn't.
It didn't. That's weird. My camera's on.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We know who you are. It's okay.
It's okay. Well, I like to see myself. I started to say
We'd
I'm
like
not
to see you too.
well, okay. Well, wait. Let me see if we can. Is there a way to quickly fix this? It says,
Yeah.
Speaker.
I don't know.
Audio settings, recording. I don't know. I don't know where.
Keep talking.
I'm signed
We know.
up. Okay. Yes,
we'll imagine.
Well, you'll have to. You're going to have to imagine it's me. Okay. So I would say I'm not a flat earther, and I'm not against, and I believe in climate change, and we humans, directly or indirectly, are responsible for it, and all that. And I like being green or trying to be greener and all that stuff. But I think the Sustainable Westchester, this comprehensive aggregation or whatever they call it program, is kind of like past its due date here. We started this in 2016, and I remember very clearly the very first meeting where they came to talk to the board about how this program works, something we never heard about before. And I was in the room because, as Peter well remembers, 2016 was one of the years of assisted living.
I do remember that. I've not forgotten that.
I haven't either. And so I was in the room because I and my neighbors were, opposed to it, and luckily, it and its following proposal went down the tubes. Anyway, and I remember the fellow saying, all about how one of the options would be for as green a supply as possible, and I think at the time the green was mostly hydro, and but he also said, this aggregation, we can negotiate for prices, and it's going to be saving the residents money. And he wasn't promising, they'll be cut in half, but he said, we'll be able to do better and have the green. And that was a good idea. And everybody, of course, once the village signed up, everybody, residents and businesses, is automatically in it unless you opt out. And that wasn't very popular with a couple of board members, but it did pass, and we did get in the program. And it's been running ever since, and been, I suppose, renewed like 2 times since then, I think.
Probably is.
Yeah. And so last year, I replaced my gas fed furnace, which was more than 20 years old, with a air-based system, which runs strictly on electricity, compressor outside and air exchanger inside. And so my electric bill, of course, went up as my gas bill went down. And I started to pay a little bit more attention to the Con Ed bill. And I was completely shocked, because I hadn't paid any attention to this, that I was paying 15+ cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. And when I went on to this Sustainable Westchester site and looked at what they keep track of, there's a chart. They reference it in that presentation of theirs, but you can go on their site, and it shows you what the Con Ed rate is for each and every month. And it showed that for all of last year, they started this, I guess, the current contract in November of 23. And so from then until whatever month that was, February, I think, Con Ed was way lower. Okay. And in the previous year, looking at their chart, Con Ed had never gotten anywhere near, not just the 13 cents a kilowatt hour that they contracted for this current deal. It was also not even close to the lower rate for the so-called standard electricity, which isn't as green, I guess, and which I think was
it's not green at all.
Not green at all. Not green at all. And that was 13 something, and
Yes.
they were way under it. And I called them up and I said, "What's the story here? What happened?" Well, that's what we negotiated. And at the time, the same thing they told you tonight, I'm sure. At the time, there was going to be a war, or there was a war in Ukraine, and everyone was predicting that energy prices were going to go higher. and we made this deal, blah, blah, blah. And really, they made a lousy deal. I mean, there's no two ways about it. They can make all the excuses they want. But everybody in Pleasantville who hasn't opted out of this program is paying significantly more. Now, if you look at their presentation, and this is also on their also on their website, they show you that the 12-month trailing average for Con Ed from April of last year to March of this year, that's all they're showing, was 9.378 cents a kilowatt hour. And in Pleasantville, we're paying, I believe, everybody's in the green rate, right? The 15 point something, which went from 15.13 to 15.44 a couple of months ago. And that's a difference, even if you average that out, of, that's pretty substantial. That's 6 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yes.
Now, it's not, of course, it's not the biggest thing that Con Ed socks you for. Con Ed's transmission charge or delivery charge is way more than that. But the only thing Sustainable Westchester has to offer us is something on the kilowatt hours. We're paying 6 cents more. So I said, well, how much is that really to real people? So I try to figure out what the average monthly kilowatt hour usage is in Westchester County, which proved to be a difficult thing to look up. On a Con Ed website, they claimed the average household uses 450 kilowatt hours a month, which I thought was kind of low. And then on a site that was run by that belonged to a solar installer for install solar on your house, they claimed it was 900 kilowatt hours a month, which I thought was probably they're taking the high end. They're taking the high end, obviously. So I said, look, all right, let me take somewhere in the middle. And my current bill, which is April to May, shows me using 599 kilowatt hours. So I said, okay, let's pick 600. Oh. So I did a little. I'm not great at math, but I'm confident that haven't made too many mistakes here. So I took the sort of the middle point of the 15.13 and the 15.44. I said 15.3 cents, and I multiplied that out, and I got to be the electric charge would be under Sustainable Westchester for household with 600 kilowatt hours a month on average would be $1,100 and change. If that person for those same 12 months had been at the Con Ed rate, as Sustainable Westchester shows you the rolling average is, or the trailing average is, whatever the difference is of that, I have no idea. That would be only $677, a difference of $425 for the year, which is real money to a lot of people. It's not that, and also if you do a little bit more math, it turns out that the $425 is equal to more than 7 months of electric power supply at the Con Ed rate. 7 months. $425, which is kind of crazy. And I mean, and if you say that 600 is not the right number, it's more like 700 or 750, or it's more like 450. There's still a big difference.
No doubt.
So can I just say, Bill, that we are aware that this
yes, I'm sure you are.
round. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of press about this, right? They made this calculation with respect to the war in Ukraine and so on, at a time when it looked like the energy prices were definitely going up because of oil issues, which turned out not to be the true case. So I think there's been a lot of, introspection about that. There's a new director now, Sustainable Westchester, and as I'm sure Peter will tell you, they also track, the differences over the period of years.
Okay. I'm actually looking, Nicole, I'm actually looking at that chart, and that was the next thing I was going to say.
Okay.
Is that if you look at their chart, which is, I think it's page 28 of their PDF.
Yes, it is.
Presentation, yeah.
And it says long-term pricing is competitive. So they're showing the 9 years, and in the first 3, they were the renewable rate was a hair under the Con Ed average.
Right.
And recognize, stop from one, so just to be clear, that renewable rate was a hair under the Con Ed non-renewable rate.
Yes, no, the Con Ed non-renewable rate. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. The Con Ed is always the non-renewable rate.
Correct.
And then if you look at the next 6 years on their chart, 5 of those 6 years, the renewable rate has been higher than the Con Ed rate. Now, in the first 3 of those, 19, 20, and 21, it's a matter of a penny or two. But in the last 2, 23 and 24, it's seriously more. In 23, Con Ed was 9.36 against 15.13, and now they're saying Con Ed is 11.39 against 15.44, but that's belied. I mean, that was because it was kind of high in the first couple of months.
Yeah.
But the 12-month rate that they show, Con Ed for 12 months, 9.4, 9.3 something, 9.4.
Right.
And so let me just finish my thought. Please let me finish my thought here. So what I think is that trying to join a program where we're trying to pick a rate, that they're coming up with a rate and we're saying, okay, we accept that. That's really a crapshoot, because it's like what the guy said about the movies. Nobody knows anything, okay, about making a hit movie. It's the same thing. Nobody knows anything about what the price is going to be. Where is natural gas prices going to go? Where are Con Ed rates going to go? Are they going to go up or are they going to go down? What external factors will there be? What laws might be passed in the United States or elsewhere? What might shipments be? What might OPEC do? No one. There's so many variables. There is absolutely, positively no way to put a real number on it and say that's the good number. That's a number where we'll pay a little bit more for green, or we'll save a little bit money for green. And clearly they made a big fat mistake in this contract. And it's like they probably would have done better, consulting a magic 8 ball, honestly, because
So
this number's ridiculous.
Have you finished your thoughts here? Because I just want to respond on a few subjects.
I just want to say one thing. Well, okay. I don't know if it's an answer, but I have a suggestion. But please, Peter, don't let me stop you. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want you to finish whatever you had to say.
Well, what I'm going to have to say is, instead of setting a hard price, they should be negotiating for a discount, for a fixed discount with whatever ESCO they work with. I believe they go out to Constellation Energy, which is or isn't Con Ed. I can't track what Constellation is, whether Constellation's an arm of Con Ed or not, or Con Ed's an arm of Constellation. I couldn't figure that out. So they're negotiating a fixed price with an ESCO. And it seems to me that they should be doing something different than that. And I'll just give you an example of what I did. Okay, so what I did is last spring, when I saw these crazy bills, I opted out.
Yes.
And I signed up for another one of their programs, Community Solar.
Yes.
How did you do that? Nobody can get into that.
I got into the one in Yonkers. There's one still open, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to jump. And I got into Community Solar because my house's location and the trees, but I didn't think I'd be getting enough sunlight in the winter when I was going to need it for my now electricity based, heating system. And it's a 20-year payback, and I'm 74 years old. 20 years is that'd be very nice, another 20 years, but I don't know if we're going to be in the same house.
You're looking pretty sturdy so far.
Well, you can't see me now, Peter, so don't.
All right.
Anyway, what I was going to say was, so I decided to go to Community Solar, and I got into the program, and there was a lot of Con Ed and was screwing up how they paid and stuff like that. But the thing with Community Solar is, you have electricity. The solar farm people sell electricity to Con Ed. Some of it's assigned to you. You don't actually get it directly, obviously. It's all put in the pool and your pool, but you get a price with a discount. There's some crazy calculation. If I could hold up my bill, you'd see how crazy the calculation is on the back of the Con Ed bill. Something called a CDG credit summary. And never mind.
Yeah. We signed up the Village for Community Solar, by the way.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but you get a discount. Not very much. But just for an example of how how it works for me that I did this is on my bill for this month, my 599 kilowatt hours were charged by Con Ed at 6.836 cents a kilowatt hour. Okay, that's what the Con Ed charge was. But then I got an $8.68 credit, which means my kilowatt hours were really 5.387. Okay, and I got 100% green electric. Of course, it's kind of, I don't get it directly, but it's the same way Sustainable Westchester works. When they sign up for green electricity, that's not what we actually get delivered. We get delivered from Con Ed, whatever Con Ed has, but they're putting into the system green electric from hydro, solar, wind, whatever, equal to what we're using, right? That's how it works.
Sure.
So I'm doing the same thing for myself as they're doing in their program.
And Westchester Power is involved in community solar as well.
Yes,
So
yes. I did it through Westchester, Sustainable Westchester.
So,
I did it through them. So my point
we're gonna have
is,
to move on here.
I'm moving on as fast as I can, Peter. And so what I'm saying is, rather than set a fixed price, trying to negotiate a price that is not realistic, we don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and lock in for 24 months or 18 months or 12 months. Why aren't they negotiating with these ESCOs for a discount at whatever the price turns out to be for that month? Come up with a number saying with a 1% discount, a 3%, a 5%, a 10%, whatever they can negotiate with the ESCO they're signing up with, instead of trying to pin down a contract price for months or years at a time, which clearly isn't working. Peter.
Okay. All right. Can I comment? Are you done now?
Please.
Okay. So you're absolutely right. 2023 and 2024, the contract rates, for reasons already described, are substantially higher than the Con Ed trailing average. That is, by Westchester Power's report, a timing issue. That is to say, the contract expired and they had to sign a new contract at exactly a moment of extreme volatility in the energy market. But what Westchester Power is doing is they're putting out to bid the pool of power represented by all their customers in all our communities who have remained in the program, and say, okay, we have, I think it's something like 140,000 households who are in this program. Give us your best price for a fixed price that will not change month to month or year to year over the course of a 12, 18, or 24-month period.
Right.
So it's a competitive market environment. You say nobody has any idea, but people do have ideas who spend their lives trying to buy energy futures. And this is the basis for our whole energy marketplace. New York State and many other states attempted to deregulate this years past. And Con Edison and the other utilities are now in the delivery business. They're not in the generation business. They no longer have any generation plants. It's all done through other sources. So if you look at the history of this since we got involved in 2016, 2017, 2018, in every one of those years, the 100% renewable rate was lower for a 12-month period than the Con Ed average for a Brown rate.
Yes, that's what I said. That's what I said. Yeah.
But listen to me.
I'm listening.
2019, it was a penny and a half higher for the renewable rate. It was a penny and a quarter higher for the standard rate than Con Ed. 2020, it was a difference of what? About 2.5 cents. Fast forward to 2022, Westchester Power's renewable rate under the contract was 9.34 cents for 100% green. Con Ed's trailing average was 10.38 cents. So absolutely true. 2023 and 2024 was, as it turns out, in hindsight, a bad deal. Up until then, 2016 to 2022, I think it's hard to argue that this has not been a net benefit and that it hasn't been a good logical program. I say that in part because if you were in this program 2016 to 2021, I believe the numbers, and I can go back and double check this. If you had been in that program for the entire time period with the renewable rate, you would have saved a small amount of money over a period of 6 years in the program. As
No,
compared
look,
to
no, Peter, look at the bottom of that chart, that the renewable rate is is higher than the Con Ed
I'm
rate.
saying in the first 6 years.
Oh, in the first 6 years.
Right.
Maybe.
Where it went off the rails was 2023 and 2024, and it went off the rails because of very much unexpected and in certainly the recent couple of decades, unheard of volatility for a period of time in the utility rates. So could that happen again? Absolutely. Could it be that the fixed rate is going to be higher than the con rate at any given time? It could be, and it's proven that it can be. What else has this delivered for us? So as I look at this, first off, the first thing to say is anybody who doesn't want to be in this program can opt out. All you have to do is send back a postcard or click on a website or call. You can get out anytime you want, and there are no penalties whatsoever. That is not typically the case for other ESCOs where there are contracts and small print and you have to be in for a long period of time. No doubt, the last 2 years have been underwater as compared to the Con Ed rate. But what do you get for that? Not everybody validates it in the same way. You get a consistent rate that doesn't change month to month, as opposed to the Con Ed rate, which changes month to month, season to season, world affairs versus world affairs. You can roll your dice that way as well. But in addition to that, this program has also supported Sustainable Westchester, which delivers all the other things that Sustainable Westchester does, including microgrids and community solar and all of those things. So if you think that's a benefit, stay in the program. If you don't think it's a benefit and you're largely price driven, you can get in and out whenever you want if you choose to, or if you just don't like the idea about it, go to the Con Ed rate, in which case you get whatever their default is. Nobody's telling you you can't do that, but I say, again, just speaking for myself, that based on what I look at, 2016 to 2024, yes, the last 2 years, for reasons that strike me as believable, are off the rails. But over the course of the program, I think that the concept is validated, and indeed it's been validated around the country in lots of other states for a long time. So that's my thought on all of that.
Well, once again, you're betting on, you said futures. You're betting on electricity futures. And
everybody's betting on electricity futures. Con Ed is buying electricity from people who bet on electricity futures. That's what's going on.
Right. And the question is, should municipalities in Westchester be betting on electricity futures, or should they be pressing Sustainable Westchester to change what they're doing and not do it on a fixed rate contract, but do it on negotiate a discount with the ESCO that they best negotiate with?
Okay, so and time will tell whether the model ought to be changed. But when you look at that history since 2016, in all but 3 of those years, you wouldn't be making that argument. You'd be saying, "I love that bet they took."
Well, it's all but 5 of those years, not 3. There's 5 that they were charging
but
more.
Again, very modest difference. All green versus.
Yes, I get. Peter, I'm willing to pay a penny or two more for green.
Okay,
if that's what it comes down to. But it's not a penny or two lately.
I totally agree. You're absolutely right.
I mean, I think you raised some important points, personally, and I think I will just say, I think it is a very important program that is contributing in a significant way to developing the infrastructure for green energy. But I would like to, I'd like to dig into it a little bit more and maybe get back to you on some of the issues. Some of it has to do with regulations on sourcing energy. I know at a certain point we were able to source renewable energy from outside of New York State, and that we're no longer allowed to do that because of the climate protocols that the New York State put into place. So, I mean, I agree with Peter. I think that the last contract was an anomaly and it was certainly problematic, but, and I don't foresee that something that dramatic happening again. I mean, knock on wood, right? But I do think you raised some interesting points and I would like to dig into it a little bit more. And if you want to reach out to me via email, I'd be happy to talk to you about it more.
Sure. I will point out, that in an article in the Examiner, the head of Sustainable Westchester, I don't remember his name. He was asked to Noel, okay, Noel, anyway, Noam, okay, sorry. He told them that that it seems that the rate going forward, they think, will be in the somewhere between this is for the renewables, for the green. So between 12.5 and 13.5 kilowatt cents a kilowatt hour, which, again, is more than several cents more than what the current Con Ed rate is. So once again, it seems they're thinking that they're going to be betting that the rate's going to go higher, and that's going to work out for everybody. I really don't think people are experts don't know everything.
There's no doubt about that. But also recognize that in any given month, the Con Ed rate varies quite a bit based on demand.
Yes, it does.
Lower
and for people who don't want to pay a variable rate, the rate goes up and down, but you can sign up with Con Ed to have your bill evened out, where you pay the same amount every month based on what they estimate.
You totally can, and then they catch up with you if the prediction hadn't been right. So look, I totally respect your view on this, and I totally respect anyone's decision to say, I don't want to play, I'm just going to take whatever the default rate is from Con Ed. But what I would say about that is Con Ed is just buying electricity on the market month to month to serve whatever customers they have to serve. And they're not doing that with any particular social minded goal. They're trying to do a reasonable job of buying electricity on the open market. Sustainable Westchester is trying to add a piece to that I view as an overall good. Not everybody would validate it in that way. And if you don't validate it, opt out. Or if you do validate it, but you validate it at a different upcharge, then have at it, right? So I respect what was important to us day one in 2016, and it remains important to us, is that everybody has the right to opt out. And if they want to opt out and opt in and opt out and opt in, they have the right to do that too with no penalty.
I wonder what the opt-out rate has been.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, yeah, obviously this last round was a mess, right? Like it was a bit of a perfect storm, I think.
Right. I think perfect storm is the way to describe it. I don't think it's suggestive that Sustainable Westchester has no idea what they're doing.
No, absolutely not.
And indeed, they also have professional advisors in the bond market, in the energy markets, advising them about when and how to manage their bids. All right, we've probably said enough. Have we said enough, do you think?
I've said enough.
Okay, I think I've said enough.
Okay, right. we both said enough. I just wish it was different. I really do, and I wish the village.
I do too.
I wish the village and the other municipalities would put more pressure on them to make some serious changes about how they bet the market. Because you wouldn't do this if it was gasoline. If someone offered you, hey, we're going to set your price of gasoline at $4.25 because prices are volatile and they go up and down, and then all of a sudden gasoline doesn't go higher than $3.75, you're going to feel like an idiot, and you'd be better off with a gasoline discount card where you get 5% off every time you fill up, no matter what the rate is.
I totally get that, but recognize also that part of what is being delivered here are these other benefits to support not only the private market of developing green energy, but also the other programs that Sustainable Westchester provides. So there are some other pieces there. This isn't just a plain old mercantile exchange. It's a mercantile exchange with a purpose. And again, if you validate that, great. If you validate it at a certain upcharge, great. If you don't validate it at all, opt out.
All right.
All right.
I
Thank you,
did.
sir.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye,
But you
Peter.
opted
Bye, Nicole.
back to another Sustainable Westchester program, so I feel good about your decision.
Yeah, and good
Okay.
for the heat pumps too.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Nicole, there is when I was looking, can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, I was gonna say
Haven't
that
cut
if you
you off
want to
yet,
go.
but I got it.
No,
We
no,
gotta
no,
move on.
I'm just gonna tell her that you're talking about community solar. There is a program, and I saw that one of the farms that's still open is what's called Westchester Parking, and it's run by GNS Solar, and there's like 600 seats left. So jump.
okay. All right, I will.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank
Have a good night.
Bye.
Talk soon. Any other comments from anybody else on any subject before we jump to our resolutions? I see no hands anywhere in the room or on Zoom. To the resolutions, again, recall that Jamie is participating remotely. Number 204, let me share my screen.
Here's we'll go this way.
Yeah, we'll just go this way. Nicole, Paul, then Jamie.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
How about that?
otherwise it's too confusing.
right,
Which
It'll
way?
be-
Gold, Paul, Yami, is that what we're doing?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, there we go. I'm about to achieve this. Okay, 204.
resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 29th, 2024, and the special bill pass meeting held on June 7th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second,
That's attached. Comments or corrections? All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. 205.
the result that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments for the fiscal year 2024 as listed below. $69 for A 8510.400 beautification to the account A 8512.400 banners festival lights.
Is there a second?
Second.
A weighty transition there in the budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Aye.
206. Yami, remotely.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign an agreement attached hereto with the Pleasantville Community Television Incorporated PCTV to provide video and web coverage of all village board meetings, special broadcasts, and community events effective June 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2025. The attachments below.
Is there a second?
Second,
So I had a meeting this weekend with Michael Inglis, president of PCTV, and he suggested some modest revision in the description of the services they provide because we've moved to a different means of televising most board meetings. So could we add to this resolution and to the draft contract consistent with modifications agreed to by the administrator in the scope of services?
Yes.
Is that okay with the mover and the seconder?
yes,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Nicole Zolberson.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payment of claims dated June 17th, 2024 for fiscal year ending in 2024 and check numbers 111277 and 111280 to 111303. From the general fund, $40,220.23. From the water fund, $1,587.04. From the capital fund, $65,428.17. From the refuse fund, $1,105.04 for a total of $108,340.48. The payment of claims is attached.
Is there a second?
second,
So these are items that are booked to the fiscal year that just ended, May 31, 2024.
Yeah, we'll end up incurring some costs allocated back to this for a couple more weeks.
Right.
That's Phil's role.
Okay, comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 208.
result that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payments of claims dated June 17th, 2024 for the fiscal year 2025 and check numbers 111304 through 111343. General fund, $448,740.19. Water fund, $25,505.21. Refuge fund, $25,122.50 for a total of $499,367.90.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Yami 209.
Okay. Just waiting to load. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign a sponsorship agreement with Terrace Vallone for the 2024 Pleasantville Music Festival with the description attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terrence. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 210, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign a sponsorship agreement with Beecher Luke's Funeral Home for the 2024 Pleasantville Music Festival.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Beecher Flukes. Many years of support for that and many other things. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 211.
Result, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign an agreement with Sundance for the purposes of backstage food services for the 2024 Pleasantville Music Festival.
Is there a second?
Second.
Attached is the RFP for food services and their response. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 212, Yami.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign a sponsorship agreement with Best Wine Purveyors for the 2024 Pleasantville Music Festival.
Is there a second?
Second.
Likewise with Beecher Flukes, Best Wine has supported the music festival for many years. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 213, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees, in support of the Pleasantville Music Festival, Saturday, July 13, 2024, authorizes that no parking signs will be posted with restrictions and vehicular access to Hopper Street, Village Lane, Elm Street, and Pine Street will be in effect for Saturday, July 13, 2024, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And further resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes no parking signs on Castleton Street for the purpose of staging emergency personnel. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the police chief to tow all vehicles violating the temporary parking and road restrictions.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 214, Paul.
Result, the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes establishment of a perimeter for the Pleasantville Music Festival to include Hopper Street, Village Lane, and Marble Avenue between Hopper Street and Village Lane for the purpose of prohibiting unauthorized solicitation, peddling, and campaigning on Saturday, July 13, 2024, between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
We're there for the music, not to peddle and campaign. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 215, Yami.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes Police Officer Donnell Charles, am I saying that right? Donnell? Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yes.
And a taser instructor school on July 30th, 2024 in Mahwah, New Jersey.
Is there a second?
Second.
Not very far out of state, but a little. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 216,
Whereas sealed bids were advertised in the official village newspaper and received on June 6, 2024 for the 2024 01 Memorial Plaza Civic Space, and whereas bids were received as per the following. Javclo Construction LLC, $639,865. Tony Casale, $641,000. Peter J. Landy, Inc., $738,628. Giafia Corp., $739,830.50. Bradhurst Site Construction Corp., $907,786. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby awards bid 2024-01 Memorial Plaza Civic Space to Javclo Construction LLC and authorizes the village administrator to execute all necessary agreements.
Is there a second?
Second.
So further to what I said at the outset, this is the piece that would create a park area in the closed slip lane and the L-shaped area that wraps around past the war monuments. Maps and renderings available both out in the field, but also on our website at pleasantville-ny.gov. $639,865, very substantially supported already by grant money.
That's correct.
So it's a great result. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 217.
Whereas sealed bids were advertised in the official village newspaper and received on May 31st, 2024 for the 2024-04 Roadway Pavement Management Program. And whereas bids were received as per the following. PLQ Industries Incorporated, $325,457. Laura Lee Industries LLC, $345,437. Pat's Paving Incorporated, $381,251. RPC Industries LLC, $707,323. Now therefore be resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby awards the bid 2024-4 Broadway Management Program to ELQ Industries Incorporated and authorizes the village administrator to execute all necessary agreements.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
This is our annual repaving.
That's correct, came in on budget.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 218 U.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator or superintendent of public works to sign an agreement with the In-Site Engineering and Surveying and Landscaping Architecture PC in the amount of $18,000 for the purposes of New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, NYSDEC, updated MS4 Stormwater Management Program reporting with the attachment there.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the annual stormwater infiltration report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 219.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the pay rate changes for the following recreation assistants, job code 0269. Bailey Rogers at an hourly rate of $22. Budget code A7330.101, effective date June 11th, 2024. Naomi Diaz Perez, an hourly rate of $20. A7324-101, hesitating about reading that part. Effective date June 14th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 220 Paul.
Whereas the Village of Pleasantville is a member of the Sustainable Westchester and a participant in the Community Choice Aggregation Program, CCA, or the program. And whereas the current electrical service agreement, ESCA, for the Sustainable Westchester CCA program terminates on October 31st, 2024. And whereas the village desires to continue to engage in the services of Sustainable Westchester Incorporated as a program manager for CCA and administration of the program. And whereas in connection with the CCA, Sustainable Westchester has provided the village with information regarding the plan to secure a new ECA, the 2024 ECA. And whereas the new memorandum of understanding, the 2024 MOU, with Sustainable Westchester will allow for the bid for electricity supply to be awarded to the lowest price responsible bidder. And whereas the purpose of the 2024 MOU is to A, establish the village's participation in the CCA to be managed by Sustainable Westchester Incorporated under the 2024 ECA. B, to affirm that the village and Sustainable Westchester Incorporated agree to adhere to the terms and conditions of the 2024 ESA in the event that the 2024 ESA is executed. And C, to affirm that the village and Sustainable Westchester Incorporated agree to execute the 2024 ESA subject to the conditions of review and approval outlined in the MOU. And whereas a demand for the voluntary renewable energy certificates, RECs, which have historically been the medium for the purchase of renewable energy in support of the program, has available exceeded supply such that at this time, suppliers can only offer 50% renewable supply option as a default product for the 2024 ESA, along with an opt-out option that allows opt-out option that allows participating customers to select 100% renewable supply option. And whereas the developments in the REC market may make it possible for suppliers to provide 100% renewable supply option as a default product for the 2024 ESA before the commencement of service, which change in the default product would be effectuated through an amendment to the 2024 ESA. Therefore, be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees does hereby authorize the village administrator to execute the 2024 MOU with Sustainable Westchester Incorporated and the associated 2024 ESA, subject to receiving a compliant offer as defined in the MOU, as required to continue participating in the CCA program. And be it further resolved, the Village Board of Trustees does hereby authorize but does not commit the village administrator to execute an amendment to the 2024 ESA to change the default product to 100% renewable supply option. Should such option become available before the commencement of service under the 2024 ESA.
Is there a second?
Second.
And attached, are the memorandum of understanding, the memorandum of understanding amendment, and the electric service agreement. So this is the matter that was the subject of the presentation by Sustainable Westchester in a work session. Their 40-page PowerPoint presentation going to be available on our website shortly. And also the extended discussion a short while ago with Bill Stoller. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jamie, did you vote?
I just want to make sure this is saying also that we're saying yes to that, correct?
We're saying yes to this, and it would commit us to the 50% sustainable with the option to upgrade to 100% renewable
Okay.
if that option becomes available.
Great. Okay.
Aye. All right. All motion has passed. 2024. Now I'm sorry, 2021. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Resolve that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the appointment of Kristen Treza to the Village of Pleasantville Recreation Department as a full-time recreation leader, CSEA, wage schedule B, step 1, at an annual salary of $60,018 with a start date of August 5th, 2024. Said appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 12 weeks to a maximum of 52 weeks, with a description of the hiring memo below.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great news. Welcome, Kristen Treza. Our rec department has been shorthanded for a good long while. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 222.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign an agreement with Brands in Town LLC in the amount of $1,500 for the purposes of email notifications for fans of performing artists related to the 2024 Pleasantville Music Festival.
Is there a second?
Second.
Contracts is attached, reviewed bands in town in previous years to connect with folks who are specifically interested in various bands. Comments, questions?
Just for the email notifications?
It's a marketing program.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, great.
Right.
Aye.
All in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 223, the last in our long list. Paul.
Result that the Board of Trustees of the Board hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the agreement for planning advisory services for the period June 1, 2024 through May 31st, 2025 with Hardesty and Hanover.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sarah Brown of Hardesty and Hanover is the professional planner who supports our planning commission and has done so for some years. This is a renewal for the new fiscal year. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. That was the last of our regular resolutions. Is there any further comment from a member of the board or a member of the public? There being none, is there a motion to adjourn the regular meeting and go back into executive session on contractual matters?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. As is always the case, the Zoom recording of this meeting will be up at pctv76.org within a few days. And we will be back as reported, back to our regular schedule, second and fourth Mondays. So we have a meeting in 1 week, June 24th. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.